I heard you. So the last guide was still a little bit too much for your tiny brains, huh? Well, don't worry, I got you. I wrote a simulator to test some of the simplest strategies and came up with the simplest and possibly the fastest way to get black flowers for the achievement. And I call that strategy, just get lucky. Okay, for real. The best strategy is to just join a homestead with a friend who already has one planted. You just plant around it, come back, harvest, replant until you get 10. Oh, you're still here? I guess don't worry. It's okay. I don't really have friends either. That's why I'm in a homestead with 3 of my alts. Okay, now for the basic setup, we'll be creating these crosses out of fields. As many as you can, the more the better. If you can't fill out the last cross, then just prioritize the center and go out from there. As usual, we will be buying tulips from Delphine. However, make sure you only buy the amount of tulips that you need, as extra seeds will be annoying to deal with. Then, we will also be buying some fertilizer, although keep in mind, we will only ever use this on the center of the cross. We will be using a strategy that makes use of the fertilizer to grow faster, so that way it preserves the seed. So it is important that we only ever fertilize the center flower. If you are just starting off, it is fine if you have already planted and fertilized. However, after we get started, it is important that we only ever use it in the center. First, as soon as we enter the homestead, we can go into the camera mode, settings, enable time freeze, and drag to the middle. This allows us to see the daytime coloring, to check for black, or as they actually appear when they're grown, as gray flowers. If you need help identifying black flowers, you can always join the Blue Protocol official Discord, and in the homestead, or in the Homestead Flowers Guide channel, I and many others often help people identify the black flowers. When you recognize that you have a black flower, then you will want to skip to the second to last chapter of this video. If no black flowers, then we are going to move on to step 2, where we check if all the flowers are the same color. Here, we are checking the flowers before we harvest to see if they are all the same color visually. If they are, then all we do is we harvest, replant, the entire cross, then we go into the H menu and recycle the plots. Scroll down to the field and replace the fields in the same cross layout. Once that layout is done, we replant. Remember to only buy the amount of seeds that you actually need to replant, as having extra seeds in the inventory can sometimes cause you to make mistakes. If all the flowers were not the same color, now we move on to harvesting. But first, we should open up a notepad. We will use this to track the highest quality flowers that we have, so that way we know which ones to swap later. As we harvest, we check specifically the rarity of the flower obtained. Make sure you're not looking at the seed rarity, as the seed is always purple. If you miss this, you can always go into the J menu, System. You will see both an image of the flower and the rarity. We are looking at the text rarity, which in this case is green. Make sure you have replanted the seed, and then we will continue harvesting. This one is a blue rarity, so we want to mark it down with where it is in the cross and its rarity. If we received a purple, we would also mark down where it was and that it was a purple. Then we go through the rest, and remember to always replant before harvesting the next flower. When you're done, you look at your notes and find the highest rarity flower. For this one, we only got one blue. However, if we had gotten a purple as well, then we would prioritize the purple over the blue. This moves us into step 4, where we swap the center with the highest rarity that we find in the cross. If the center is already the highest quality, or you do not have any blues or purples, then you just leave the cross as it is. So for this, our highest quality flower is on the right. So what we do is we take out the center, then we swap the right into the center, and finally bring the one we swapped out back to the right. Now we move on to the final step in the normal cycle. For this, we will want to water all of the fields. However, we will only use the fertilizer on the center of the cross. Remember, this is important as it preserves the center flower, which in general helps reduce the time it takes to get a black flower. If you water and fertilize correctly, it should look like this. As you can see, the center one is the most progressed, while the other ones surrounding it are less progressed. Okay, for when you eventually get a black flower, here's what we do. Once we have identified the black flower, we go into the H menu, and we swap it out to the center like we did with the highest rarities. From now on, the only things that we're doing is we are harvesting and replanting the outside flowers. You can also water them and fertilize them, as the center will not change. It might take several cycles for the flowers to eventually turn black. When they turn black, you can move them to the center of other crosses to produce more black flowers, or you can simply harvest the outside black flowers until you get the achievement. Okay, that covers this guide, and if you would want a more in-depth look at flowers and their mechanics, check out the other 2 videos in the description. Chinese Season 2 recently released some teasers, and it looks like we are getting some quality of life for the homestead. Also, if you're looking for a Hydrangea Maxing video for homestead coins, then I'll have a guide on that soon.